Hey, Olivia here again. And now that we've finished up our theme file, I'm going to show you how to do some last configuration before we finish up our site. So if you take a look at the root of your repository again, go into the underscore data folder. And right now we're going to be dealing with all of these files that start with the word config, and they're all CSV files, and all of them configure just a few other aspects of the site that we haven't gotten to yet. So we're going to start with config browse. And I'm going to click this little button here so I can edit it. And so this is a CSV that controls the content of the cards that appear on the browse page. So if I come over here to my browse page, I can see all of my items. I can see all the information for each item on each card. So I have a title, I have a date, I have subject buttons, and if an item has a creator, then that is included as well. So whatever is on these cards, or whatever is determined in the config browse CSV, is what I can search. So if I want to search up here for Robinson, I can do so. And because Robinson is included somewhere in some of these metadata fields that are included on the cards, they come up in the search. So if I want to add to the content on the search or delete the content that's there, I can do so from the config browse CSV. And in this case, I might do, I've looked at my metadata over here again, gone back to it and looked at it in CSV format. And I think that I probably want to include item information in this case because it's just information about the physical item. So I'm going to include the actual title of the metadata field as it appears in the metadata. And then in the next column, I can put the display name. So in this case, I might just do item information. And if I'd like it to be a button, I could say true here for this column. I don't want it to be a button though. If I'd like it to be hidden, I could also say true here for being hidden. And that would just allow me to search for that field, the values of that field, but not have it be visible on the card. In this case, I'm not going to do that either. If I wanted to have the name, the metadata field appear as a sortable name in this little drop down here, I could add a sort name, just as we've done for date already. But I don't really want it to be a sort name either. So this is all I'm going to put, and now it will appear on my cards once I've committed. So I'm committing my changes here, and we'll take a look at all of these changes at the end. I'm just going to move through file by file here first. So the next file is config map. And so this is how I'm going to control the information that appears on the item pages that pop up on my map. Whenever I click on one of these little dots, I can see an item card that pops up with any information that I've designated, any fields that I've designated popping up as well. And I'm able to search these cards in these fields as well. So again, if I search over here, these fields are going to be, if they're designated searchable, they're going to be searched when I do my search on the map. So I do that through the config map CSV. Again, I'm going to add item information. So I'm putting that in the field here. I'm giving it a display name, and then I'm telling it I do want it to be searchable, so it can be searched whenever anybody searches over here. And I'm going to commit my changes here. And I'm moving on to config metadata. So this is an important config file here because we need to be sure to represent the metadata over here on the item page using this file. So right now, the fields that are in there are pretty standard, what you'd see probably in most digital collections, but of course each collection has unique fields and they need to reflect the uniqueness of the collection. So it's always important to go through, step by step your metadata and make sure what you want displayed is included here. So in this case, I'm just To continue with our example, I'm going to go with item information and give it a display name. And if I want that to be a browse link, oh, it looks like item information is already in this one because I've edited it before, but I could do recipient as well. And if, to go back to what I was saying, if I want this to be a browse link, you notice this is an option here. I could write true here and then it would become a link. And to show you what that looks like, subject is already linked. So the purpose of this is I can click on this portraits word and then come back to the browse page and see all of the items that have a subject of portraits. So again, this is just another way to access the items in my collection. In this case, I'll just make recipient be a browse link, and I'll just also make item information be a browse link true. And that looks good to me. If I were doing this for a real collection, I would go through and carefully check all of these fields to make sure what I want represented is on the item page, and what I don't want represented is not there. So if you're doing this with your own collection, be sure to take a pause here and go through and really make sure you've captured everything you want to capture. Now I'm going to go to config nav, and this is where I can edit the words that and the links that appear in my navigation bar. So we're editing what appears up here. And we talked earlier when I did my other video that maybe we don't want to include the locations word cloud because it's pretty small. Maybe it's not useful to people. So if I were to want to take out locations from the nav bar, it's pretty simple to do. I would come into the CSV, I would find the locations row, and I would just delete the whole row. You can do the exact opposite if you want to add something in. All you'll need is a display name. You'll need to have created the page that you want to add and include a path to the page. And if you want a page to have a drop down, like multiple sections under one page, multiple sub pages, you could do that as well. There is information in our documentation for how to do that. If you go over to customize navigation, there's a bunch of information about how to do a dropdown. Usually it's in the context of the about page, but it can be used on any page. So head over there if you're interested in finding out more about dropdown. All right, and now I have, my next one is config search. So CollectionBuilder-gh allows you to search the collection using the search box here. So if I want to search for Robinson, I can do so, and all the items will pop up that have Robinson somewhere in their metadata fields that have been specified as searchable. So here I can see it. I have a title, a date is here, description, and subjects. And if I go over to my CSV here, I can see these are the fields that we've made searchable. So title, date, creator, description, subject, and location too, if it exists for an item. So if I don't want one of these to show up in my search, I could type, I could just delete it from my CSV. But if I wanted to add something, I could do that as well. So I could add item information and say, I do want it to be indexed or searchable, and I do want it to be displayed. So now I can come and update or do my commit here. And now I can move on to config table. So this is editing the fields that appear on my data table on the data page. So these are pretty standard fields that are here: title, date, description, and subjects, but maybe you have a different field that you think would be better included here, or maybe you want to take one of these out. So let's say I want to take description out. I would just delete it. And if I wanted to add one in, I'd put the field and display name, but in this case, I'm just going to take it out for now. I'm going to go on to my last config CSV. So this is the config theme colors CSV. And this is just really an easy way for you to be able to edit the colors in your collection builder site. So if you have, if you want to override the Bootstrap colors that we're already using that are in here already, all you need to do is just paste in a hex code in the color column here to the right of whatever color you want to override. If you wanted to create a whole new color, you could do that too, and then just paste in your hex code. So there's a lot more information about this in the documentation as well under customize colors. So if I were doing this as an example, I would just grab this hex code, come over here and paste it in, and then I would commit my changes. And then you can use new color in your CSS or in your Bootstrap HTML whenever you want to create your, change the color from what it is in Collection Builder. I'm just going to delete that for now because I don't really want to create a new color. And I didn't make any changes, so I don't need to make a commit, so I can just say cancel. And I've made it through all of my config CSVs. So my site should have had enough time to update by now, so I can come back over here and I'll just start on the home page. And I'm going to do a hard refresh to get rid of anything that might be left over. So you could see the changes that happened there. My locations button got removed from the nav bar. Don't think any other changes happened on this page, but if I move to the browse page now and do another hard refresh, and a hard refresh on a Mac is just Command-Shift-R. On a PC is going to be Control-Shift-R. So feel free to do that too if you notice something looks different than it should. That's always a good first step in troubleshooting what might be wrong. So if I scroll down here, I can see we included item information on the browse page. Here it is on all the browse cards. And if I go to subject, we didn't do anything in subjects, but if I go to map, again, do a hard refresh, then click on a card here, I can see item information is showing up. So that worked. We didn't do anything to timeline, but we did to data. So if I do a hard refresh here, I can see description disappeared because we got rid of it. So that's how you configure these little bits of the site. Now I'll be back in the next video to show you how to kind of polish things up and finish it up, namely by finishing up the about page and configuring what's on the home page. So we'll be back soon.